Now comes the most famous sutra in the entire Yoga Sutras, which every serious yoga practitioner knows. Yogash-chitta-vr. Now, yoga is the suppression of the fluctuations of the mind. Vritti. So vritti means the thoughts, the mental chatter. So look at the word vr in Sanskrit. A lot of the words, they're very correlated to the sound. So the word, the pranava mantra, om, also it directly, the vibrations directly of pacify the vagus nerve. So in Sanskrit, the way things are pronounced also has its meaning. So vr means literally it's like a whirlpool. So it is all these thoughts like a whirlpool in the mind. So in this sutra, the interesting thing is that yoga is just saying suppressions of the fluctuations of the mind. Does Patanjali say yoga chitta sarvavritti nirodhaḥ? Does he say? He does not say. He does not say it is a suppression of all the fluctuations of the mind. So this is a common question which is asked all over again and again. In yogic state, that means the mind, if the mind is not completely still, there are no thoughts, then it's not yoga. No, sometimes the mind can be completely nirbija samadhi. Patanjali will talk about that. There's no seed, nothing, so it's completely still. But there are samprajñāta samadhi where you focus on certain things. In fact, all the samyamas, they're all about focusing on certain aspects. So the word sarva, or all, being absent, that is suppressions of all modifications of the mind, have not been referred to. So yoga is intended to include samprajñāta samadhi, that is wisdom that comes from meditation, even though it involves some mental activity, though it is pure and refined. This is still yoga. Okay, so yoga, it is these thoughts that there can be thoughts in the mind, but they are not the vrittis, the ones that they just suck you away. It is a very controlled and refined thoughts. That's in samadhi states, you can still have that. So this is a very important distinction, and Swami Hariharananda very clearly mentions that. So nirodha, look at this. Nirodha, it's like a hard word, right? Generally means wiping out. Here it's used in the context of restraint. So this is why you can't read a dictionary and come up with this. There are all these subtleties. It means restraint of the fluctuations of the mind. Even though I've written suppressions of the fluctuations, it is more used in the connotation of restraint. Imply it in the last sutra of chapter 1, tasyapi nirode sarpa nirodan nirbija samadhihi. So all these samadhis, they're used to clean out the impurities, like a broom used to clean. All the gross dust is gone. So you have the broom that is there. And then comes the final samadhi, nirbija samadhi. Even that broom is thrown out. So that is the nirodha means wiping out of all the impressions. So nirodha is not nothingness. It means the Swami Hariharananda, he corrects a misunderstanding that cessation means a blank or a void or sleep. No, he explains nirodha as a dynamic state. It's a specific kind of effort. The mind naturally wants to flow out due to rajas. Nirodha is the flow of the mind turning back towards the source. Okay, so all these are from Swami Hariharananda's interpretation. Okay, now we will come to the mind screen. So we've talked about the mind. Now yoga in great detail, it explains the mind. So the mind has different, let's see, okay. Um, so it's worth for you, if you have not done that, to take a look at the um, these slides. Okay. Now, when you talk about the mind in Western medicine, mind is just like they don't really understand what mind is. They just deal with the brain, because Western medicine only goes with things that you can see. In yoga, we deal with the sukshma shariram, which is by nature, it is subtle and not visible to the senses. So that's why Western medicine cannot explain, or science itself cannot explain a lot of things. But in yoga, as well as in Vedanta, and Vedanta here borrows everything entirely from Veda. The mind has four, Vedanta borrows everything entirely from yoga. The mind has four parts: mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. Manas is memory and feelings distributed throughout the body. Manaha, so when say, oh, manasu kashtamar, in Tamil they say, manasu kashtamar, they point to the heart. Mano bhara hai. So it's like they point to the heart, right? So it is distributed throughout the body, memory and feelings. Buddhi is the intellect. So you can associate it with the prefrontal cortex. In fact, there is a very famous mantra in the Kathopanishad of the charioteer example. So the chariot is like the body. It's drawn by the horses, which are like the sensors. The rein, that is the mind. The buddhim to sarathim viddhi, the charioteer who controls these horses, is the intellect. And then Atmanam Rathinam viddhi, Atma, that is the consciousness. It is the Lord of the chariot, sitting, just seeing nothing, doing nothing. And just because the Lord is there, the chariot moves. If the Lord is not there, chariot doesn't move. Why should it move? Why would the charioteer drive? So Manas, then Buddhi is the prefrontal cortex from scientific point of view. Then Ahankara. Ahankara, it is, so the way, it's a different, it's a sense of I. It tells you how to, your locate, your, how you're related to the world, your placement with respect to the world. It is not a bad thing, even though there's no um, exact English word. You can say ego, but in English, ego is used in a context of being bad. But ahankara can also be, if it's not placed right, it false sense of I, thinking I am great, I am this. It can cause, it's a bad thing. But ahankara just means a sense of I. So this, in strict Vedantic terms, it is a reflection of the consciousness on the mind. We'll come to that later. And then finally comes the most subtle one. It is called chitta. Remember, this is different from chit. Chit and chitta are different. Chit is consciousness. Sat, chit, anandam. Sat, existence, consciousness, bliss. Chit is consciousness. Chitta is the portion of the mind. It is the closest link to consciousness. In fact, it's called chittiva bhavayati chittam. This seems to trick you into thinking, I am that mind, I am the chitta. That's why chittiva bhavayati means it appears like the consciousness, but it's actually, we'll see all this is in great detail talked about in the last chapter, the reflected consciousness. And that's what gives the sense of ahankara, all this. In Vedanta especially, it's talked about in great detail. In the Yoga Sutras also, in the 4th chapter, Patanjali talks about it in great detail, or whoever wrote that chapter. Behind all this is chit, or the original consciousness. It is called Purusha. It is also called Sakshi Tattvam, or the witness principle. It doesn't do anything. It's like electricity giving and lighting up the entire machine, but it doesn't do anything. So I give the example of an apple sorting machine. The apple, it looks at, if there's some brown thing on the apple, it rejects the apple. Then if it's good, it places in a different container. Now, Without the electricity, it won't work. But um, can you say the Apple, the electricity is the one which is doing this? No, electricity powers, but it is not the doer. So this is subtle. That's why the Purusha is akarta and abhokta. Because it's not the doer, it does not reap any karma also. So Atma is pure. Okay. These are all some very subtle principles. Now we come to the mind. Okay. So chitta, this is one portion of the mind. Patanjali talks about yogaś-chitta-vr. Chitta, you can think of it like a movie theater. In fact, the Patanjali uses the word pratyaya. Pratyaya is the contents of the screen, or you can't say the contents of the speakers, but it's the sound and the images, everything, all the contents of the mind. Essentially, that's a pratyaya. Okay, images, all that. So it's the contents of the screen and the speakers. Purusha is the light from the projector. Also, Purusha is the screen on which you are doing. It's the background. So it can be a little confusing. Purusha is both the light and it's also the projecting medium on which everything is projected. Okay. So that is the analogy of the mind. So chitta is the movie theater. And in this movie theater, there is the images, sound, everything. That is the pratyaya. And then there is the Purusha. Purusha is the constant parts of the movie theater. Anything that is not changing, you can immediately say that's Purusha. So if somebody gives you a quiz, okay, now I have this analogy of Purusha and the mind to this and this and this. Now you tell me which is Purusha, which is Prakriti, immediate, or which is the mind. Mind belongs to Prakriti. Anything that changes is Prakriti. Purusha doesn't change. Light is constantly that shining. Light go the next. I'll go to the next slide. You see, in those days they had this reel film, right? These days nobody, everything is digital, DLP. So imagine this film going from the senses, it's moving in one direction. Then from memory, it's going, when you, especially when you dream, it's from memory, the roll is moving in the other direction. Now it's moving this way and moving the other way. The light is constant. Light goes through this film and it falls on the screen. So the reflection on the screen is called the reflected consciousness or Chidabhasa, which we will, Patanjali talks about later. But this is what gives motion, all this thing, because through the senses, everything, light shines through that, and the whole thing is witnessed by the mind. Okay, so this is the state of the mind. Chitta, the movie theater screen of the mind. Okay, so mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. Chit iva bhaveti chittam. Chitta seems to manifest like the original consciousness and causes a lot of confusion. That is why we think we are the mind. We are not even the mind. So Vyasa, famous opening statement, yoga is samadhi. It implies that yoga is essentially a deep state of meditation. So I jokingly put these slides in previously. This is before 1980, before when I was like very young. Then generally yogi, when they say, the image that comes is somebody with a lot of power over their prana, siddhis, and generally the image that immediately would come in my mind is somebody sitting in meditation. Yogi, man, woman, whoever it is, it's just yogi. But now it's all this. It's nothing to do with yoga. So that's quite unfortunate, but that's how things have changed between then and now. Okay. All right. Then comes, okay.